This movie surprised me in quite a few ways, and in the good ways. If you are new here, I like to cover those movies that get a little bit less talked about, a little less coverage. Just try and find a hidden gem for both myself and maybe add on your watch list. So if you are new, please do hit subscribe. But let's get on with the review. Measure of Revenge, or Leave Not One Alive. It got a second title and I'm not sure why. So in this movie we're following Lillian, who has had a long career in acting on stage and theatre productions, and her son is coming out of recovery and is killed. Now there is drugs in his system, so the police do chalk it up as himself going back into his old ways, but she's not leaving it at that. She wants to understand who it is that's killed her son and why. And so begins a revenge story that takes her through her son's past and her son's connections. Now the selling point of this movie really is the fact that it is just a kind of everyday mother who's going down this path. Don't expect big action, don't expect big scenes, because it would have been really out of place if they'd done so. So I think the way that she confronts people in this movie is very believable, especially for a mother that's still grieving. You know, she doesn't go into like the drug empire or the drug underbelly of the city by any means. It's just a few people who are quite surface level, and she's there to talk to them and get a better understanding of what it is exactly that's happened, who's involved, and what to do with them ultimately. So her son was musical, he was in bands, he'd had albums out, and he was famous. It doesn't go into what degree he was famous, but he certainly had his own label, he had a band, and fans are approaching him in the street at the start of the movie, so he's got some kind of reputation at least. But upon learning about the drugs in the system, she realises she wants to get in touch with his drug dealer and find out a little bit more about the drugs, where they came from. But then her theatre background comes in a little bit here, and I think the movie does a really good balance at allowing you to understand that throughout the entirety of this movie she is still grieving for him. You know, you see movies like this and they seem to forget that the character's initial motivation, you know, through revenge or through grieving, that seems to kind of slip away as the movie goes on. But in this there are moments, there are those downbeats, which shows that at the end of the day she is still a mum that is just grieving her son. You've got to respect that. But then comes in her theatre background. Now she plays a lot of Shakespeare, she's read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, there are a few references in here, so when she's having thoughts in her own head, they're very theatrical thoughts. I mean in costume and the way they talk, the makeup, everything. And also what it is they're saying to her come from a very theatrical background, because she's done nothing but play on stage revenge tales and revenge stories, and now is her opportunity to live in one. You know, it's quite clear in some moments that she's in over her head, and that's good because she is at the end of the day. She isn't suddenly known how to do karate and fight people by any means, or even how to threaten someone properly. She's struggling with all of this, it's all new to her. One of the first people she comes across is Bella Thorne, who plays her son's drug dealer in this, and they spark up a relationship really just to find the truth, because although the drug dealer, she cared a lot about her son as well. Once they get over a few of their own hurdles, they realise that they both want to know what's happened, they let their guards down with each other, and they spark up an interesting relationship. And of course, as the drug dealer, she knows people that are getting certain drugs into the city, she knows a few connections or has her own suspicions as well, because she was quite close with Lillian's son after all. So because of that, they're there to help each other out and just get to the bottom of this. Now she is very likeable in this movie as well. She's a very likeable character, even in those moments where she's confronting somebody. You want her to come out of it okay, because you understand where she's coming from. Now whodunit and motivations, you may have seen them before, they're not too twisty and it's not too uncommon. That being said, you're not here for that. You're here really just to watch a mother going through grief, enacting her own revenge, and has really been thrusted through this by, I think, her experiences on stage and through theatre, because they're clearly what's influencing her, and certainly how she's talking to herself in her own head. There's the police officer who comes in every so often as well, who initially didn't believe that there was any suspicious activity going on, but then starts to realise that maybe something else happened here. So you've got him popping up every so often whilst Lillian is just going about her day, be it in the theatre or while she's investigating as well. Some of the scenes in this movie do look a little bit like a set, which obviously they are. It looks a little bit movie-ish, if that makes sense, but if you can overlook that and get past it, you know, they're not here for long. But then on the other side of it, the movie isn't flashy. It's not a big movie, it's not got huge budget by any means, but it stays in the pocket quite well. You know, you're not here for the revenge story, you're here for the character building and really the character's journey throughout this. And I honestly came away from this thoroughly enjoying the movie. Like I said, I thought this was going to be quite a campy, cheesy, B-class movie with a low budget, but I liked the dialogue in it, and I liked the way that they demonstrated dealing with the situation, both the one that she's currently going through now and also her son's passing, and the different characters as well, whether they were lying, telling the truth about being upset about her son. There were some very interesting scenes and very good dialogue in here as well. I was saying, if you have the time, give this movie a watch. There's certainly worse out there. It does feel a little bit like a movie-long episode of Columbo, but with its own little twist in here. So if you do like those TV shows, make time for this movie. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. As I said, I went in with no expectations, or at the very least very little expectations for what it was going to do. They were just some of my thoughts here on Measure of Revenge. Have you seen it? If you have, do we agree or disagree? Let me know down below. And if you are new here, please do hit subscribe, that'd be amazing. Thank you so much for watching.